Okay. So what we have discussed so far, right? Mostly we discuss on the blockchain technology and how blockchain works, right? But depending upon how much authority, like I said, there is a proof of authority consensus mechanism. Right now, we just discuss DAG, right, where it can be used for like controlling your kind of participation in the blockchain, right? It can be local, it can be universal, right? Depending upon what role you are playing, right? Let's say if I'm playing the role of only voter, right? I just want to cast my vote, right? My participation should be local, right? That means my authorization should happen in such a way that I'll like vote for the like kind of whichever block or whichever municipality I belong to, not on the other municipality block, right? So depending upon how authority or what are the restrictions, right? There are different type of blockchain which can be created, right? Uh, if you see the matrix, right? So there is something called permissionless and permission, right? There is something called private and public, right? So think of this: public is something which is open to all, right? So public blockchains like Bitcoin, Ethereum, it doesn't matter where are you from, which organization you belong to, what you do, what is your education qualification. There is no restrictions, right? So it is public. That means it is open to all, right? You have to create a user ID, password. You have to log in, and you can participate, right, in that blockchain, either as a like node to make certain transactions, or as a miners to mine the or be part of that blockchain mining community, right? Or maybe a validator community, right? So that is the meaning of public. Public is open to all information. The ledger itself, the blockchain is open to all. You can as a public, as a separate individual, you can download the blockchain, download, see all the transactions, right? Who is transferring money to whom? Obviously, you do not know who actually, but you know that from which address to other address. So that is the public blockchain. And permissionless, that means there is no centralized authority. There is no centralized authority who is giving you permission, right? Each of us are equally participant in that, right? Each of us can play our role as a miner or a transaction provider or whatever role we want to play, right? So that is the meaning of permissionless, right? So there is no central authority, there is no organization who is providing you permission, right? Obviously, you need to have the login password through that algorithm will check it. Make sure that you are not because otherwise what will happen? I'll create my dummies and 1,000 dummies or 10,000 dummies, and I can hack, or I can like kind of that DDoS attack can have happen, right? So that obviously that verification will happen, but there is no central authority like an organization. There is a bank or there is a government who is authorizing you to participate in that blockchain, right? So that doesn't mean that you don't need any authority or any identity. Otherwise, the hacking will be very easy. Permission means not it is permission left, it is permission actually, right? That means you need certain permissions, right? Let's say government is implementing a system to voting system, right? So government will authorize you as a voter. You should be more than 18 years old. You should be a natural Indian citizen, right? So whatever criteria is there for the voting, right? The government is authorizing you after checking the validation documents, right? Or a bank has a blockchain and you want to part of that, you want to transact through that blockchain, right? So the bank will provide you that authority, right? So in that case, that is the permission, right? Somebody, some additional authority, some centralized authority is providing you that permission. Centralized authority means it can be organizations also, right? It can be any third party organizations also, not only banks or government, right? So two criteria, public and private, and the other one is permissionless and permissionless, right? So public permissionless, if I think into this way, whatever we have discussed, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and most of the cryptocurrencies, most of, not all of them, most of them will fall into this criteria. Public, the blockchain is public, the ledger is public to all, and permissionless. That means there is no central authority who is authorizing, okay, these persons are or validating, okay, this person is eligible to be part of that blockchain. Right? Then public can be permissioned also, right?
Sir, all
Yeah.
so all the cryptocurrencies will fall under public and permission, or there will
No,
be some who need the permission.
there are certain cryptocurrencies which are actually private also, right? And there are certain cryptocurrencies which can be private permission, right? If a like kind of a local kind of, let's say Apple, right? Apple creates their own Apple money as a cryptocurrency which can be used by Apple users, right? Then that can be a private permission system, right? So it is only restricted to certain individuals, which is private, and Apple or whichever agency or whichever organization, let's say Tesla, creates their own cryptocurrency for their own individuals, right? Employees, right? That can be a system. There are certain cryptocurrencies which is built in that way. Not all the cryptocurrencies are public and permissionless, but most of them, because generally they want people to participate. Otherwise, the value, that value will not get added up, right? So basically, the value of a cryptocurrencies is most of the times based upon how many number of users, how many transactions are happening, right? In that using that cryptocurrency, right? Otherwise, so same thing with your monetary system, right? USD is a kind of has that much value, right? Most of the countries either use their own currency or for cross-border payment, USD or Euro, right? So that's why that money, that currency has that much value, right? Same thing with the cryptocurrency. Most of the cryptocurrency, that's why I try to become public and permissionless, so that much many users will be using that, so that the value gradually will increase. But again, in certain cases, that can be made private also, right? With permission system. Apple can create their own. Apple has their own money, Apple money, for that, and they can create that as a utilize that in a blockchain system and create that as a private and permission system. Was that your question? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Then public permission, like I said, voting mechanism. If somebody implements voting mechanism, or let's say land record site, public, certain people will be authorized or permission. You need your account, you need your details, land record details to be part of that blockchain, right? Right. So in that case, it can be public and permission. Private permissionless, right? Again, private can be private permissionless or permission, right? Very few use cases will be there which is private and permissionless, right? So that is the meaning of private. Private means you are authorizing somebody to give the permission, right? But still, there can be situations where the like organization, right? In an organization, they create their own blockchain or a payment mechanism, and all the employees who are part of that organization, they can be participate, not be restricted to few employees or few customers, right? So in that case, they can create a private blockchain. So private means this is only to restricted individual, right? Permission means whether there is a central authority, whether organization is providing that authority to certain individuals, or it is open to all the individuals. Think in this way. If it is open to all the individuals in organization, still it can be permissionless, right? Once you become a part of employee of that organization or customer of that system, right? You are eligible to be part of that blockchain, right? In that case, it can be private permissionless also. But I guess there will be very few use cases around it. Private permission, yes, like I said, Apple can create, BMW can create their own payment system. Tesla can create their own payment system, right? So for all the electric battery charges, let's say payment will be made through Tesla money, right? And all the users, those who have Tesla, those model cars, they will be permission by the Tesla company to use that blockchain, right? To make payment through that cryptocurrency, right? So again, it is a private, it is restricted to that organization, Tesla, and company might provide the certain individuals of higher end cars to have that permission to be part of that blockchain, right? So in that case, that is a private and permission system. So if you see into the left side of the kind of slide, right? Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? So this diamond symbol is for Ethereum, are basically public and permissionless. There are certain systems. Sovereign is basically used for, platform is being used for to utilize it in Internet of Things, sensors. Different companies can use that platform to communicate between different sensors, different kind of control systems, right? Similarly, Corda is a platform. Hyperledger is basically from IBM, right? So these basically, if you see, most of them are public and permission, right? That means government and organizations can utilize that. Some of them are private and permission. That means that organization are using it only for their own employees or own customers. It is not a public system, right? So we look into certain definitions or certain differences of different types of blockchain. Public blockchain is open. Anybody can join. People like you and me who don't. Yes, Ankita.
How can be one a system both private and public? Like, then how it will be utilized?
Private and public, there is no system like that, right? Both
No,
private.
sir, that's a Corda C, that one.
That
It
is a
is both
platform.
mentioned.
Yeah, so it is not that it is private or public. That is a platform. Hyperledger is a platform, right? It is not a cryptocurrency or it is not a. So using that platform, you can create either a public blockchain or a private blockchain. So that is the platform which you are using. So that is like a software mechanism. So that is not an example of a bit like Bitcoin or Ethereum. So that is a platform which you are utilizing to create either a public blockchain or a private blockchain. Same thing with Hyperledger. Hyperledger is a IBM's platform, right? Which you can utilize to create private, at least the use cases right now, whatever they have done, right? There is a food trust. I think they work with Red Trust or Microsoft to create that kind of organic farming blockchain. So that was a private. So that can be also Hyperledger. Right now, they are launching many public permission systems, right? So that those are the platforms which you can utilize to create blockchain, right? So that use case can be either public or a private, right? But a single use case cannot be public and private, right? So those are the platforms. Coda is again a platform. So Sorbin, like I said, Sorbin is a platform which you can use like to like create your own Internet of Things, right? Communicating between different sensors. So those are all whatever mentioned in the top end, right? Those are the platforms which can be utilized. Clear? So public blockchain is basically transparent, anonymous to like your identity is anonymous, right? Fully decentralized, right? Though no central authority, right? Secured, immutable ledger system. Anyhow, that is the like kind of fundamental of blockchain, right? So this is a open ledger system, open to all, right? Private blockchain, closed network. Let's say organization, Tesla, Apple, BMW, they create their own blockchain. BMW can create a blockchain only to identify what kind of component, what is the warranty through their own supply chain network, different kind of suppliers, right? Again, it can be private only for the BMW users, or it can be for the BMW and their suppliers, right? In that case, it can be a federated blockchain. Anyhow, that will cover in the next slide. So private means single organization have their own blockchain being utilized by their own employees or customers, right? That access will be restricted, right? Closed network, single organization, closed ledger, right? So I cannot see if I'm not employee of that organization. I cannot see what kind of details, what kind of transactions are happening in that, right? Simplified data processing, but not open to everyone. Faster output, power efficient, offers privacy, right? Details are secure, details are private for that organization. A single organization will have authority over the network, right? Apple, Tesla, BMW. BMW actually started implementing Audi. So there are certain automobile companies that started doing that, and not only for their own organization, and their customers can also utilize that. So we'll discuss that in the later slides how they're doing that. Then so there is something called federated blockchain, right? So if you read that use case right now, HDFC, there are I think 11 banks in India, right? So they are getting together and creating their own blockchain, right? So that will be known as a federated blockchain. So several organizations getting together, creating their own blockchain platform, right? So that is a So that is different from private, because in private only single organization, in here at multiple organizations. Then there is something called hybrid, right? In hybrid system, some part of your blockchain will be private, some part of the blockchain will be public, right? So BMW, what they can do, some part of their network, they can make it restricted. That access will be restricted to their employees only, right? So that will be private. Other part, other details, what kind of models they have, uh, we'll discuss something called sharing economy, and how that can be utilized in this kind of automobile companies. We'll discuss that. So that part can be public, right? So that in that case, if you can create a blockchain which is part of that is public and part of that is private, that can be hybrid blockchain, right? Authoritative aspects, only certain elements. So your government, right? How the like kind of voting, like kind of counting and all those things are happening, right? So that access will be restricted to those election authorities, right? So that part of the blockchain will be private, right? Because that is restricted to only certain individuals from the election commission, right? From the election commission, certain individuals will have that kind of authorized access, right? But that part of the blockchain where the voting happens, each individuals can be part of the system. I can see the total voting count, who is the winner, how much vote they got, right? So that part of the system can be still public, right? So in that case, it will be a hybrid system where part of the like kind of information, part of the transaction, part of the authority will be restricted. Other part will be open to the public, right? Government can utilize that. Some companies are starting using this to create something called sharing economy, which we'll discuss in the later slides. Any questions on this? Again, there are few slides on this. Just for your reading, I have provided that. What is a public blockchain? We have discussed. Then private blockchain, that will be restricted to single organization or single government with restricted access, right? Then there is hybrid blockchain, mix of private and public. Some part of the blockchain will be controlled by the centralized authority. Some part of the blockchain will be open to all the public. Then there is a federated blockchain. Am I audible clearly? Hello.
Yes, you're audible.
Okay. So federated blockchain, a lot of organizations can get together and create their own blockchain ecosystem. So there is a ecosystem right now in place, or people are working on that. Different banks, different insurance companies, agencies in USA have created their own blockchain framework, right? And again, they are connected with each other, right? So this is an example of a federated blockchain. Think about in this way: HDFC, ICICI, all the private banks or some of the private banks create their own blockchain, which right now they're trying to do. All the insurance companies in India, life insurance, health insurance, automotive insurance, they create their own blockchain platform, and that can be connected. All the customer details, customer payment systems can be connected with each other, right? So that what happens, any transaction which will need to happen, let's say you claim a health insurance or you claim a life insurance, right? The payment system, the validation system, all are integrated together. The time it takes right now to claim a life insurance, it might take 1 month to 3 months to process documents to, or health insurance also. If it is not a cashless, it will take at least 1 month to 3 months of time. Right? So that time frame can be reduced, right? Because all information is being shared across different platforms, right? Insurance companies, their information of the patient records or the like whoever has taken those policy holder records being shared across the banks who will make the payment, right? So that can, so those kind of systems can work in federated blockchain, right? Financial services, insurance claims, supply chain management, right? Multi-party aggregation, that means multi or like kind of multi organizations or number of organizations are agreeing on certain things, right? Agreeing on the how much payment should be made to certain things, agreeing on the transaction fees, right? So those can be done across this federated blockchain, right? Any questions on this?
So multi-party aggression. So can you
Multi-party
explain?
multi-party aggression is like in this case, these are consortium of banks. These are consortium of Allianz and all those juries, Aegean. Those are basically consortium of insurance companies, right? So they will be agreeing on certain claim processing. They will be agreeing on certain transaction fees, right? So that can be rather than being on one bank to other. Right now, what is happening? Like let's say there is a SBI, and for all the transactions happening through SBI for all the insurance companies, right? So there is a kind of a transaction fee and there is a agreement, right? For let's say that I do not have a SBI account, I have a ICICI account. So that transaction fees, that agreement system will be different, right? So it gives a lot of complexity, right? There are hundreds of insurance companies, there are hundreds of banks, even not hundreds, let's say 10 of banks, 10 of insurance companies. The number of permutation combination become 10 into 10, 100 kind of terms and conditions. 100 number of use cases can happen depending upon the transaction fee, depending upon the agreement with each of the insurance companies have with each other bank, right? Rather than doing that, rather than making the complex process that complex, all those banks, 10 banks or 8 banks, will form a group. All the insurance companies, health insurance, will form a group, right? And they will agree. So multi parties are agreeing on certain conditions, transaction fees, certain agreement on the how the claim documents will be processed, or how the like payment will be made for a cross border payment, right? So that is a multi-party are agreeing on certain things, right? So that is a multi-party agreement or aggression.
Yes, sir. Yes, I got it.
Okay. So again, these are the few applications. So I'm not going to go one by one because these are the few things. Post your presentation will come back, and if not all, we'll try to look into most of the use cases. What I wanted to show in the left slide of the slide, and that day, I think one of you were asking, right? Why only cryptocurrencies are that much in demand, not other use cases of blockchain? It is not like that. Yes, cryptocurrency is one of the famous use case, or at least that is in place, because it has around, like that day I was telling, 10 to 12 years of the time to mature. 2009 around Bitcoin started. So today is 2021, so around 12 years. Other use cases were a bit late because getting blockchain mainstream, right? Technology or the kind of effort or the management needs, right? Started back in 2017-18. So next 3 to 4 years are will be like changing many things fundamentally. How this right side of the if you see the right side of the slide, right? It is not only about the financial services, cryptocurrencies or insurances or decentralized finances, right? Lot of public, lot of organizational challenges can be like kind of utilized, can be do away with by utilizing blockchain, right? So I'll not spend much time going one by one, and just understand blockchain can be utilized in different scenarios, and that will be post your presentation. All the classes or most of the classes will be covering all the scenarios where blockchain can be utilized, not only in financial. Obviously, we'll spend 1 to 2 sessions on covering cryptocurrencies and decentralized finances. So if you see in the left slide, right, most of the industry executives believe that 46% of the financial services can be utilized through blockchain, which is very less across other kind of sector utilization. Next, followed by industrial product manufacturing, then energy, healthcare, government, voting, like it's a voting system, land record management. But still, there is certain use cases at least at this point of time. This was back in 2018, right? So 3 years have passed. So if somebody has done a survey right now, I think the ratios or the numbers will obviously change. Applications of blockchain, a few examples: automotive. Consumers could use blockchain to manage fractional ownership. Can anybody tell me what do you mean by fractional ownership? Because I think that is one case where automotive companies, not in India, BMW, Audi, Mercedes, all those luxury kind of car makers, right? They are getting into this kind of business kind of case or this kind of business scenario, right? So I'll come back to this slide, but before that, let me show this slide and talk about a few minutes on the sharing economy. I know that it is already 10, so this slide and the previous slide, I'll just cover this for today, and balance slide we'll try to cover next class, right? So what do you mean by sharing economy, right? A few months back, I got an email that, okay, do you want to own a villa in Goa? And the offer price was around 12 lakhs, right? I was intrigued. I saw that, okay, how can somebody, and that was a big pictures and locations were excellent. So how can somebody is giving so cheap? So initially I thought it is a clickbait, but anyhow, like I just rather than clicking on that link, I went to that searched that website in the Google and went to that, and it was a genuine website, genuine builder, and trying to provide that. Think about a scenario, right? How many times, or obviously that might not be applicable for you, but applicable for you or me, but rich people, right? So what they happen, they sometimes go to for a 1 month vacation, 15 days vacation in a year, right? To certain locations, Goa, or let's say Ladakh, Leh, or the like kind of Kerala, whichever location, or maybe outside India, right? And they stay in hotels, or they might be taking Airbnb or resorts, right? But 5 days, 10 days, 15 days, right? Now companies or builders or construction companies, not construction companies, those real estate companies, right? They are utilizing that model. So what will happen? Because if you buy a villa in Goa, it might cost you 1 crore or 2 crore or 3 crore rupees, right? But you are not using that for 1 year, right? You are not going to use it for whole year, right? You are staying, you are working in some other place, Mumbai or Delhi, right? You might utilize that property for 10 days or 15 days or 1 month max in a year, right? Similarly, locations across Kerala or wherever, right? Now, rather than paying 2 crore or 3 crore rupees upfront to own that villa, you can share that villa with other people. So that is the meaning of fractional ownership, right? So if I pay 12 lakhs or 15 lakhs, obviously number of days, if it is more, I have to pay more. And I'll choose which days or which month or which time frame I will be owning that villa, right? So what happens by paying that 12 lakhs or by paying that 10 lakhs or 20 lakhs of money, right? I have a ownership of that villa for my lifetime, or whatever the period, next 30 years or 35 years, till the villa is in proper shape, right? For that 1 month, each year, 1 month or 15 days, I have that ownership, right? So that is the meaning of fractional ownership, right? And that business model is now in vogue, right? Like I said, people have started using that in India also. So like I said, that I got that email. So you pay 12 lakh of rupees or 10 lakh of rupees, and you have the ownership of 15 days of that villa or of that apartment or that location, right? In a premium location for 15 days or 7 days or 10 days in a year, right? And what is the benefit for that real estate companies or the like construct like kind of contractors? Now, because they used to have that problem of selling those kind of high cost properties, right? High value properties, 3 crores, 5 crores, right? Now, common people like you and me can have that share, right? And have owned that property. And if 10 or 15 people have that ownership of that property, they get that money back, right? So 10 or 15 people owners, they provide that 10 lakh, 12 lakhs each. So the contractor got that money back, right? So that is how a sharing economy works. Same thing can be utilized in automotive companies. Well, nowadays, lot many people are facing challenges in parking because they like parking the car, or they might be traveling. They don't want a car to keep in their apartment for long, right? Some people might be working in USA. They might come back to India for 1 month or 15 days in a year, right? So rather than owning a car in India, fractional ownership can happen, right? So what will happen? You will pay money for maybe 1 lakh in a year or whatever, 80,000 rupees in a year to own a Mercedes or to own a Audi high-end car for 1 month or 15 days, right? So that is the meaning of fractional ownership, right? All the sharing economy is based upon those fractional ownership, sharing assets, and that can be implemented through utilization of blockchain, right? So that is what I meant by your fractional ownership. Is this point clear or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So financial services, yes, Abhijit.
Sir, in that case, then for a specific card, like in a specific Mercedes card, then there will be a one owner or there will be a multiple owner.
Multiple owners. At that point of time, you own the car, right? So let's say there is an accident, right? How to validate who was owning that car at that point of time? I can say that, okay, I did not own, right? So that's why those need to be secured, that need to be transacted through a blockchain, right? So that ownership details at that period of time, I had the ownership, right? So all these details need to be registered or being validated through a blockchain. So yes, it will be multiple ownership, but single owner at a point of time. So let's say I own the car for February month, right? Next February month, I have that ownership. So February 2022, it will be, the car will be in my name. So that any accident happens, any damage happens, I will be liable to pay, right? Other month, some other owner will be there, right? So that is the meaning of fractional ownership. And this ownership management can be done through blockchain, right? So it is secure, nobody can change it, right? And it can be utilized by the transaction fees, payment system, and everything.
Okay, sir.
And same thing with the buildings also, right? The resorts or the apartment, right? If somebody wants to buy a villa in Goa, go ahead and do it. You can own a villa within 5 lakhs. So I was actually interested. I thought, who is giving a villa within 12 lakhs? But then other conditions were there. It was for, I think, 12 days or 15 days. Voting, we discussed. Voting, one of the major problem in at least the countries like India. A lot of corruption, lot of challenges still exist in voting systems, even with the e-voting machines. Identity theft, multiple use of the same identity, those can be restricted through a hybrid blockchain method, right? Healthcare, patients' health records, right? Most of the times, hospitals need to share that with insurance agencies. That can be encrypted and that can be secured through a blockchain also, right? Multiple providers, rather than somebody knowing your exact details, exact age, every element, right? It can be secured through a blockchain also, right? Again, these are the few applications. We'll discuss each of them in detail in later once the presentation gets over. So I'll stop here for today, but do start preparing. I'll share the slide after the class, but please start preparing for your presentation, right? Which will happen on session number 9 and 10, right? And that's all for today. If there are no other questions.
Sir, I have missed my attendance.
Roll number.
076.
Okay, anyone else?
Sir,
Sir, 337.
337. Okay. Anyone else?
284, sir.
484. Okay. Done. Chalo, take care. We'll meet next class.